And we're joined now by Illinois Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth. Good to have you here in person.
Thanks for having me.
So, Senator, I know you did vote to confirm Secretary Rubio. Do you have confidence that he can juggle all four of the jobs that he now has for an indefinite period of time?
No, there's no way he can do that and do it well, especially since there's such incompetence over at DOD with Hegseth being Secretary of Defense and just the hollowing out of the top leadership. There's no way he can carry all that entire load on his own, and so I do think that they need to find a new Secretary of Defense. They need to find a new NSA, head of NSA, as quickly as possible.
But at this point, we heard from the Chief of Staff that she believes all the cabinet secretaries will serve a full year. What makes you think that Secretary Hegseth could actually be dismissed?
Well, I think he should be dismissed. Whether or not President Trump's going to dismiss him is a whole different conversation. He should never have been nominated in the first place. He's the most untrained, inadequate Secretary of Defense in our nation's history. And look at what he's done at the Pentagon. It's in turmoil. He lost his top staffers within a matter of days. He's now put classified information on an unclassified chain, and he's put our nation's national security at risk.
He says no war plans wasn't classified, but it was sensitive information. That's part of this ongoing Inspector General probe, as I understand it, into his conduct. Do you have any timeline, any sense of how seriously that's being taken and when the results will be seen?
We don't have a timeline. It is very serious. Let me make it clear what he did. He put into an unclassified signal chain that the aircraft are going to be over a certain point in space at a certain point in time. That's classified information. Any basic person getting through military training knows that is classified information. And he did it on a separate chain with his wife and family members.
I want to ask you, because you sit on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee along with Armed Services,
yes.
What you think is going to happen to Mike Waltz, who is now being pushed out of the NSA role and into this job as ambassador to the United Nations. That's arguably a pretty important post. Senate Intel Vice Chairman Mark Warner says it's going to be a brutal hearing. What do you want to know from him, and are you open to confirming him into the job?
It will be a brutal hearing. He's not qualified for the job just by nature of the fact that he participated in this signal chain. In fact, I think everybody on that signal chain needs to be fired because not a single one of them spoke up and said, hey, this is inappropriate, we should be in our secure channel. And by the way, what's really interesting was that there was not a single uniformed personnel on that signal chain, which was very clear that it was purposefully done to keep the military personnel with the experience off of that signal chat. Now, Mike Waltz is doing what we call, he is failing up, right? He is failing in his job and getting promoted to be ambassador. That's not what our nation needs at the United Nations.
Mike Waltz served this country in uniform as a Green Beret. He was a lawmaker. You think he is incompetent and you're not open to voting for him at all?
I'm not open to voting for him, no, because he's already demonstrated he's incapable of doing the most basic thing, which is handling classified information.
I want to ask you about funding for defense, because I know you've said, in particular, the Navy needs more money and more financial support right now. The Republican chair of Appropriations and the Republican chair of Armed Services both saw the White House's budget when it was released on Friday and said it freezes military spending at Biden-era levels, which they argue amounts to a reduction. Can you work together with your Republican allies to increase defense spending?
Well, one of the places where there has been bipartisanship has been the Armed Services Committee. That has been something that I've been very proud to be a part of. Now, whether or not my Republican colleagues continue to be co-conspirators and collaborators with this administration in basically gutting the United States government is up to them. Right now, their plans are going to require laying off at least 100,000 civilian workers at the Pentagon. It's going to, in the words of Chairman Wicker, basically, I'm going to paraphrase him, cut defense capabilities to the bone. I think he's how he's put it. We need to make sure the Navy needs more ships. We need more, and the merchant mariners need more boats, more ships. We need to make major investments in our sixth-generation fighter fleet. We need to make major investments in training pilots. We're short pilots, and yet, the cuts that they're proposing in order to fund a vanity project like the Golden Dome does not help make America more secure leader on a global scale, and it certainly doesn't keep us, the leader of the free world.
I want to ask you about one of the programs that is at least nominally being eliminated. Secretary Hegseth posted on social media he's ending the Women, Peace and Security program. Hegseth said it's a divisive social justice initiative from feminists, a distraction from war fighting. But when we checked how the now chairman of the Joint Chiefs described it, General Kane, he said he used the program in the field after an assault to send in female members to speak with women and children to better understand human terrain. So if the military establishment says it's useful and the Secretary of Defense says it's not and it's a distraction, what happens, and can lawmakers like yourself actually rescue this program?
We can if my Republicans will stop, rolling over for this president. We can actually rescue this program. The program is critically important. It's supported by every combatant commander. It's a program that came about, by the way, Marco Rubio was one of the leaders.
And Kristi Noem, as a lawmaker,
supported the program.
And President Trump signed it into law.
And he signed it into law. This shows how incompetent Hegseth is, that in his slash and burn efforts at the Pentagon, he basically slashed and burned something without realizing that this was actually a Trump-era law, and this was led by his colleagues, and now he can't back out of it. This came out of really some of the lessons we learned in Afghanistan when we had the Marine Corps Lionesses, which were teams of all women Marines, tough fighters who would go in and talk to the women in the villages and would get intelligence that no one else could.
Because the women wouldn't talk to
Because the women wouldn't talk to the men. And so this is a vital program that keeps our military stronger and also makes it more lethal because we can find where our enemies are and go after them.
Hegseth said he'll implement the minimum required. What does that mean? Do you know?
I don't know, but he's the minimum of a defense secretary, so it's not surprising that he would go to the lowest levels.
I want to ask you about what's happening within your party. Your fellow Midwesterner, Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin, said Democrats are messaging in a way that doesn't resonate outside of blue coastal areas. She was focusing in on Bernie Sanders' use of the term oligarchy. She said, use plain language. Talk about kings, that we oppose them. Do you agree with her that there is at minimum a messaging problem if there isn't something more within your party right now?
Well, I've long said that we should be listening to Midwest Democrats a lot more. Those of us from the center of the country, represent states like Illinois. We're 102 counties, 96 are red and 6 are blue. You don't get elected in the Midwest without being able to talk to everyday voters in red counties about the issues that they worry about, to be able to talk about agricultural issues. Our farmers are just being battered by the Trump administration right now. The tariffs are hurting them with the products they're trying to sell. The inputs that they're trying to import in order to plant and grow their crops are being priced out of range. The steel that John Deere uses to make the tractors are also pricing that equipment out of range. I do think that the Democratic Party should be listening to the industrial Midwest more.
Senator Duckworth, thank you for your time.
Thank you.